The emperor rewarded him and married him to his sickly sister to have children with her. They went to visit the king, who, when he learned that Eric had not touched his sister Mesa, told him that this was a betrayal of the royal family, so Eric grabbed his hands in anger as he said to himself, "Are you really trying to push me like this?" Then he continued and said to himself, "As long as the king talks about treason, there is no way out, even if it means my life, my father. And what will happen to the lives of the followers of the Kladener family? There are only about 70 knights brought to the capital." So he bit his lips nervously as he continued and said to himself, "This is negligible compared to the royal guard capital forces." And here the king said, "Mesa, come here." And Mesa looked at him and he started smiling at her and saying, well, until she went to him and told her, "My poor little sister, Mesa, you answer me. Your husband took off your clothes that night, but she didn't answer him, so he pulled her by the hair in anger and said, Mesa, I'm asking you about this. Did this person touch your body?" And here Eric shouted and said, "Your Majesty, please leave it from your hand." And here is Mesa talking, and she said, "Ah, it hurts here." And Eric was in shock. And here her brother said, "Well, stop. It's not fun to hear about my sister's sleeping arrangements." "Ah, I feel filthy." Then he hit her and fell to the ground. Then he told them, "Now that we're done, leave now." And Eric went to her and grabbed her nervously. And he hugged her feeling angry, and here the scene changes as he holds her in his arms inside the cart. When they returned to the palace, the butler said, "Welcome back. You're both fine." And here Eric said, "I'm going to take care of my wife today. So make sure no one gets to the west wing on the second floor today." And he left, saying, "I go to the cavalry rooms and bring Colin." He placed him in the guard in the western part on the second floor. And at this time, Delhi was looking nervously. But while he was on the way, Mesa woke up and started screaming until he took her down. And here the knight arrived and said, "Did you invite me?" And this knight is Colin Knight Kladener, Eric's right hand. And here Eric said, "Did you receive the message? Don't let anyone come near here today. If anything happens, let me know right away." And the knight, "Yes." And Eric entered the room and put her on the bed. Then he told her, "Now no one can hear you. Whether you're screaming or howling, no one will come." And he approached her and grabbed her while he was saying, "Do you understand what I'm saying? Whatever you say, no one can hear you. So please say something. Now I know very well that you can communicate." And here I looked at him nervously. Then she laughed, and Eric looked at her nervously. Said, "Me, good waiting. How long are you going to pretend to be innocent? If I didn't know, would you have been planning on continuing to lie to me like this? You are the creator of hell." And here he was shocked when Mesa said, "My dear, it's better not to give any attention to Mesa at all. Mesa doesn't want your attention either." And here Eric was in shock. He said to himself, "For a moment, I couldn't believe what I was hearing." And here he told her, "What did you do in front of the king before?" And at the same time he says to himself, steady but elegant tone of voice. And here Mesa told him, "We are like hyenas looking for someone as if they were a piece of meat. But at the same time we show that we are going well." And here Eric only looked at her while saying to himself, "These words I'm sure I've heard before." Unlike her gentle face and calm voice, her hands were trembling with fear. So he moved away from her and he says, "I didn't mean to push you." Then he said to himself, "It's not easy to believe it was fine. What was this little head thinking all the time? Time? I heard that when she was 8 years old she saw her mother die, and then she would watch her other half-brothers kill one after another at the hands of the king. So what she chose to survive it was worse than treating animals. She was disdained and ridiculed. And I was speechless when I thought about the life I lived. All these years. We know very little. So can I bring this up and console her by saying how unfair she has been treated throughout her life? Or will these superficial words about the difficult times she has really gone through help her?" I wanted to tell her something, but there was nothing I could saying. So I swallowed my words. And the second day in a new morning, Mesa was asleep, at the time when the butler entered with the princess maids, and he said to Eric, "Did you wake up? I brought you a meal." And here the maid Malik went and tried to wake up Mesa, and she says, "Princess, you should wake up and eat breakfast. Princess." And here Eric was looking in silence, and he says to himself, "I thought I would be executed for reporting a false report to the king, but looks like I've managed to avoid that." And here he said to the maid, "Let her sleep more. It seems that my wife was very tired after going out for the first time in a while." And the maid, "Ah, yes, I think so." And here the butler said, "So, sir, how about eating first? Aren't you busy with your schedule today?" At the time when Eric was talking to himself about the maid, by their appearance, I think she came to check on us because of the late evidence for the first wedding night. But it's better to pretend that I don't understand what the whole thing is. And here he started eating while he was continuing and saying to himself, "For the first time, the food I ate alone, harsh, like sand." And on a new day, Mesa returned to practice what she used to do while pretending to be stupid. And she says to herself, "Things to do today. Make a mess on the table, biting and tearing the clothes left by the man with black hair behind him. And here you mean about Eric, I pull the maid's gray hair, but because of this she was beaten." And she continues and says to herself, "With this I completed about half of my work for the day." And here the maid Edley said, "This damn one." And Mesa herself said, "Today, the physical examination of the maids took a long time, so I was late for work. But I glad I did. That guy with the black hair yesterday. What if the man said that? Secret to someone else? I'm not sure. But he appeared very angry because of me yesterday." So in anger, she said, "Just in case. This man told my secret to everyone here in the palace. What if they want to kick me out of here?" And here she woke herself up from this thinking while saying to herself, although he appeared very angry this time, she remembered how he was looking at her while smiling, and she started to say, "So far, this guy didn't look like that kind of person, did he?" Then she blushed as she said, "But just in case. If this man talks about me." So I went quickly to Talisa, who smiled when she saw her, saying, "Ah, Mesa is here. Good morning." When she noticed that she had no servants, she told her, "No, Mesa, I told you not to turn alone without maid or maids." And that's where Mesa went to her and fell into her lap, and here Talisa put her hand on her head and she says, "Oh, I think you're still half asleep." And here in comfort, Mesa said, after she understood that Eric didn't tell her the truth, "Fortunately, she is on her nature. I'm really happy." And that's where Talisa said to the butler, "Don't worry about it, just keep talking." And butler, "Yes, ma'am. This time it comes to garden fence repairs." At this point, she asked me if I could change the material to something else, so I looked into it. What do you think of marjoram wood, which is 2 pieces for each 1 cariel, and this is their currency? For reference, the total amount required for our garden is, and here Mesa was thinking about what he said, and she was saying to herself, "Marjoram wood? I heard that rosewood imported from the South Island is used for the fence of the palace garden. The price is 5 times more expensive in 1 Carol 10 zeros. Are these imported goods too expensive to use in this house?" I didn't go anywhere but the royal palace or Celia's palace. And here the butler took the butter dish, and he says, "By the way, I heard that the dairy farm on Rugenton Street recently started producing butter and cheese. The price was prohibitive, but I heard that the quality was good, so I brought it." And here Talisa ate of it, and he is the servant saying, "1 piece of butter costs 20 basil." At the time when Mesa was shocked by the price while opening her mouth and saying to herself, "Is it at this price?" And that's when Talisa thought she wanted her. So she gave her a piece, and she says, "Mesa, do you want to try it?" And Mesa was saying to herself, "One maid once said that a bag of flour equals 20 basil. So for now, a little piece of butter that can be put in the palm of your hand costs the same bag of flour." And here I remembered Eric, as she said, The black-haired man was already worried about the food of the inhabitants of the territory. If you have a lack of money at home, it is better to buy only flour. At this time, Talisa said to her Mesa, "Is it delicious? You eat very well. Wow, it sounds good. I think I should prepare about 5 dishes for you to eat, Mesa." Then she said to the butler, "Did you say this is 20 basil and the server?" "Yes, the butter we buy. Usually it is 4 basil." And here, Mesa continued, saying to herself, "The black-haired man and his mother. They feel happy when I eat something. Why, but whatever the case, it won't be just for kindness, because no one in this world treats a princess like a plague so much." And after a little while, Eric came and reached out to Mesa as he said, "Come here quickly." But Mesa refused because he knew the truth about her, so she caught Talisa, who said in astonishment, "That's weird. You usually leave quietly." At the time, Mesa was looking at her and saying to herself, "I don't want to be with this guy, help me." And here, Eric forcibly grabbed her and held her in his arms. Then he whispered to her and said, "Mesa, it would be better if you went with me calmly. I haven't told anyone about yesterday yet." So I looked at him nervously.